Hello, everyone. I welcome you to this week's edition of Welcome Change. I'm Marie Ringler. I'm a member of the Global Leadership Group of Ashoka, and I'm super delighted to be joined today by Constanza del Rio in Santiago, Chile. Welcome, Constanza.
Hi, Marie. Thank you very much for this invitation. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so delighted to see you because Constanza and I actually share a wonderful story. I met and had the real privilege of meeting Constanza during her election process to become an Ashoka Fellow. I was one of her interviewers. And, that process is a very intense and rigorous process with, dozens of hours of conversations and due diligence. And it was just such a pleasure to meet you, Constanza, and feel your fire. But also, what you did for me is that you opened my eyes to a problem that I had no idea about, which was the problem of stolen children in Chile, but also around the world. And this is what we're going to talk about today, Constanza. And I would invite you to maybe share with us how you came to work in this field and what your personal connection is to this problem that, not only Chile has.
No, not only you. Okay, I'm gonna present myself. My name is Constanza del Rio. I live in Santiago, Chile, and I am the founder of an organization called NGO Nos Buscamos. That means we are looking for each other. This organization is dedicated to reconnecting people who were separate from their biological families due to illegal adoptions here in Chile. And my journey started when I discovered as an adult that I was one of the many children who were taken from their biological families and placed into adoption under fraudulent circumstances. This revelation changed my life and led me to uncover the scale of this problem, no,
Mm.
not just in my country, Chile, but globally. And that's how we
Mm.
started
Yeah.
doing Nos Buscamos.
Yes. I sometimes think of you, Constanza, as a detective, right? I see
Yes.
you with a hat and one of these glasses. And that's really what put you on this journey, right? Is
Yeah.
trying to understand what really happened. And you just shared with me the numbers, and I think this is important for all of us to understand that um, it's estimated that 65,000 children were
Yes.
taken illegally from their families in Chile
Here in
alone.
Chile.
Mm,
Yeah,
yes.
65,000. This number has been raising for the last couple of years because our national police is investigating because I started this investigation in 2018. I came
Mm,
to a judge that he has to investigate this. And first they said like 10,000, then 25,000. When we met, I think it was
yes. Yeah,
25,000. And now they have
exactly.
come with this
Yeah.
65,000 children.
Mm,
It's very shocking to think that Chile is a
mm,
really little tiny country. We
mm,
now have 18 million people.
mm,
So if to
and
imagine the 70s, 65,000. So
mm,
almost all the families were victims of this.
yeah. Tell us a little bit more so that people understand what really happened there, because this was also the shocking part for me. When you explained this, the scale of this problem to me. How were these children taken, and what was the system around it that also allowed it to operate for such a long time?
Okay, through the last couple of years, we have discovered more and more information. We did have this like a theory about Pinochet, but we didn't have any proof. And of course, half of the country is still defending this dictatorship. So it was very hard for us. We received threats and everything about because of them, because the people who still uh,
Mm.
respect him. And so we now discover in a couple of months.
Pinochet, just for our
Yeah.
listeners, was the
Oh, yeah.
dictator in Chile. Yes.
There's a
Yes,
dictatorship
please.
that it came to in the
Mhm,
70s, and of
mhm,
course killed and tortured like more than 4,000 people here.
mhm,
So we discovered recently, a couple of weeks ago, that there were a logistic plan created by him and the Minister of Justice that was his cousin to take away all the poor children from poor families away from the country, mostly to prevent them to turn them into Marxistas, like Marx or communist. He was trying to take away all the risk of possible future communists who can go against him. So this was a systematic thing against poor women in the more poor areas of Chile, not only Santiago, in the south of Chile mostly. And the worst population were the people who are from Mapuche. Mapuche is our indigenous. And women from Mapuche places were the victims of this dictatorship. And the kids were tricking them, saying that the babies has died on labor, or they were forced to give the babies up for adoption, because this is not adoption. That's why I'm doing the thing. Because they were threatened by the policemen if they don't give the babies or the children to the adoption agencies, they will be taken to jail. So there were threats, and how do you say, they were tricked. And now,
they were tricked.
And these women were the typical kind of women who has no nets, no money, from the poorest areas of Chile, and they have no way to defend against this policy, because it was a public policy in Chile. And this is
and yes, and you told me that 90% of these children were adopted outside the country, right?
99, yeah.
They were by parents who also paid considerable sums for these adoptions, right?
Yeah, because these children were taken by social assistants, judges, and lawyers. Like we have to try to figure out this. It's not a baby stolen and sold them on a alley dark side. No, they were taken with passports, with all the documentation. So the adopted parents thought that it was completely legal. Okay, so the adopted parents are victims too. They were tricked, and they didn't know that they were stealing, children from another mother. Of course, most of them wouldn't have done that if they knew.
Yes. And since you started your organization, you've been able to uncover 7,000 cases, or document 7,000 of those cases, and also reunite 600 families. Tell us how are you doing this, right? I mean, I said earlier, I think of you as, a detective, but you're also employing really, sophisticated technology and a huge network of volunteers.
Yeah, we have developed an online database. We also are very emphatic of using new technologies, not just copybooks and like our volunteers. We have more than 25 volunteers all around Chile, and we have volunteers in Europe and United States too, in Australia too, because there were more than 23 countries who were the countries who received these kids. Okay, so we were with a database. We were with the volunteers that are very investigating kind of people, like you said, like with a computer and the glasses, like a journalist in investigation. And also we have a huge how do you say, with MyHeritage, the DNA bank around the world, because we need DNA. This is not only about data or paperwork. Like we can go to National Archive to find out paperwork and things like that. But DNA is the most important tool today, 2025. This didn't exist 15 years ago. When I started my journey, the DNA was really, really expensive and very, very hard to have. Today, we have a partnership with MyHeritage DNA Bank. They're being awesome. They're giving us the DNAs for free, and we give them to the mothers here in Chile for free. We don't sell DNA or nothing like that. We just give the DNA for the families, because their children, now adults, are in Europe. So it's impossible to them to come back to Chile because they don't speak the language. This is Latin America, a completely different kind of country from Europe. The justice is really slow, like really slow, and it's going to take for at least 20 years to get this solved, and the mother's going to be dead by now.
Mm.
So we have to do it now, and we have developed this 9-step protocol thing that we have it on our website, nosbuscamos.org. And if you're an adoptee and you were born in Chile, you can go step by step. It's really, really easy. At least we have a step-by-step protocol. When I started, there were nothing.
Mm. One thing that deeply touched me about your work is that every single story that you're working with is a story of pain, it's a story of loss. And in some cases, it has also devastated whole communities. You told me about villages where, there were 400 inhabitants and 50 babies were stolen.
Yeah.
So entire generations were stolen.
And the generation and the community is affected by this, because it's so. When we had our first talk, it's hard to believe that someone can steal a child and sell it to a adoption agency in Europe. It's like a movie. It's really surrealistic, and it's hard to them to understand that the babies are alive.
Mm.
Many times, like Saturday, I have a call between France and Temuco. There's like the city of the Mapuche people here in Chile in the south. And I was talking to this mother, and she was so mad at me, saying, "You are kidding, you don't," like she was mad at me because she thought that it was making fun of her lost. And she said, "I lost a baby boy. What are you talking about?" And she said, "No, it's a baby girl." And now she's 35. She lived in France. She's been looking for you for the last 10 years. And we finally managed to find the mother and the brother. And it was a beautiful story. And we always said, this is devastating. The mother was really sad, but somehow he found out that her baby is alive. He's 35, and we connect them through the chat, and they can see each other, and they're like very, very similar. So it's a miracle. And we always say the same: we can't change the past, but we can change the present and the future. We can change the present for that family and that community completely. And we are trying to prevent this to happen in the future, because it's still happening.
Yes. So let's talk about the very significant policy changes that you've been driving and the work that you've been doing to ensure that this cannot happen again.
Okay, we are connecting again because our country has been through a very difficult journey in the last couple of years. And now we are again connecting with the Congress people from Chile to change 2 laws. And we finally very, very close to change. The most important one is to add to the legal process, to the legal laws here in Chile, that selling children for adoption has to be a felony. It's not now. It's not a felony. So now the judge who is investigating these cases, he's saying, okay, but this no felony because we don't have a law against this. Okay, so it's like a kind of stupid to be in the 2025, and everybody understands that to steal children for adoption without the consent of the mother and all the process has to be a felony, but it's not. So we need to put that law on the government, and we are going to do it, I hope, this next month. So we are they have to pass it through the Congress, and we'll be okay.
Well, we're keeping our fingers crossed for you,
Yeah.
Constanza, and for the 65,000 children you are working for.
Yeah.
One thing that you made me realize, Constanza, is that, not only were these children stolen, but also there is a fundamental right that was violated here, the right of a child to its identity. Can you
Yeah.
talk more about that?
Sorry. Yeah. When we have to put ourselves through one of the sites, like are we going to take the adoptees parent side, or are we going to take the biological mother side, or are we going to take the children side? We work with adults, but they were stolen when they were children. So we are going to take always the side of the children, because he was the one who can defend himself when he was a baby or she was a baby. So this is the right of knowing your own story and your origins and your roots and your family. It's not about only the mother to find out your mother or your brother. It's about everything. Connecting back to your country, because on top of this, we are talking about people who are stolen from our country and sent to another, not country, another continent. Like completely different culture, completely different language, food, everything. Like they look different, and most of them have suffered from bullying in school because things like that happen. So they were like different from all the rest of their community. So they have a lot of therapy. They have been through a lot of struggling on their life. So we're taking the side of the connecting with the roots, the right of the identity. That the right for identity is one of the rights of the children and supposed to be guaranteed, but for all the people who are adopted or trafficked, that right is completely erased, because when you are adopted legally, at least you have the possibility to go back to your country, to ask for your paperwork and documents and stuff like that. But with people who were victims of traffic, there's nothing. No document, no nothing. We can do nothing. So we are preventing this from happening in the future, and we are defending the present of these people.
One thing that I also realized through our conversations is that this is not just a problem in Chile. It's, of course, in Chile, it happened in a very specific context, as you explained, sort of it was systematic in the context of a dictatorship and also later on. But this is actually a global problem. And I just recently read numbers from South Korea where 200,000 children were sent abroad until the mid 80s. And I'm wondering, whether you can tell us more about the work that you're doing globally, and how you are working to end global child trafficking for all of us.
Okay, one of the things that we have done this couple of years is that our work in Chile has shown that justice and recognition are possible, because the governments are always saying, what can we do? It's impossible. We're talking about 1,000 children or things like that. But the methodology that we have developed here, combining DNA testing, digital platform, investigation journalism, and artificial intelligence now, can be applied globally. Yesterday, we went to a documentary from Ukrainian children. We're talking about a war. Every time there's a war or a conflict in some country, there's always going to be child trafficking, because they're the easiest population to be victims of. So this is continue happening, and it will continue happening in the future. It's that really bad, but combining this new technologies and combining also the volunteers that are allowed to do this, because the states and the governments are really trick. They can't do the things that we can do. So
Yes.
for example, I can just call someone on the phone and just ask her if she lost a baby or something like that. So one of the main tools, as I said, is the DNA. DNA is going to be our main tool now. All the people from Ukrainian, they have contacted us like a couple of years ago, and I said, the only thing I can't tell you is try to use DNA, because at least your DNA is going to be on that DNA bank for the future. Maybe now you're not going to find anything, but maybe in the future, a brother, a sister, a cousin, or the mother could be there. And that's it's easy, but people are like, they don't understand really what is a DNA, but it's just a saliva.
Yeah, saliva. It's a test
Saliva
where you
test,
use
and
the
that's it.
saliva to,
It's
yeah.
not
It
very
doesn't
expensive.
hurt. It's not
It's
painful.
very
Yeah.
hard. It's very easy to say. You don't need medical support or people. You just do it like with clean hands, and that's it. And It's a global thing, and I think a DNA could be and will be a very, very interesting
Yes.
tool in the future too.
Constanza, we have about 10 more minutes with our audience. And so I would like to invite our audience to share their questions for you. And have another one for you in the meantime.
Okay.
When you think about your work and the importance of children to their identity, where do you see the biggest lever for your work going forward in order to ensure that as societies we respect this right?
I think we have to make a mindset. We have to change our mindset. And it's very hard, not only for people who are adopted or not, for the society in general. We need to stop thinking that children are objects. We don't trade them. We don't change them. We, the adults, shouldn't be doing things to kids like under this charity things like we are going to save poor people from, for example, a country that is in war, to prevent them from poorness, and we're going to take better care of them. That's the typical excuse. But in the bottom line, they're always as the adults are trying to do something with those kids. I want to be a mother because I haven't been able, so I need a baby to feel better about me. If we think about children with rights and not objects, the mindset changes completely. If you're going to adopt a child, yes, that's a good idea. Don't change his or her identity. He already have a name, a nationality. You don't have to change his name or his last name. You just take it to your home, educate him, give him all the love that you have, but don't change their identity. It's not your property. So when we talk about this, it's very hard for the society to understand that children are not belongings or property of no one. Children are not objects. That's the main thing that we should remember.
Yeah, that's a beautiful reminder, no, for all of
Yeah.
us. There's a few questions here.
Yeah, I was trying to.
Yes, and one of them is, what is the government doing right now to stop this? And will there be, and I guess this is going in the direction of, the idea of a truth and reconciliation commission, is one of the questions. So I guess this applies to Chile, but do you see
Chile.
that happening?
Yeah, in this government last year, the government installed they said mesa de trabajo, but it's like a commission, okay? But they only gather around once a month, and the civil organizations are not invited. So yeah, there were good intentions there, but they didn't execute it in the right way. And there's some people saying that it's a good thing that Chile have their own DNA bank, and that's plain and stupid solution, because all of the children, the adults now, are in other countries. Chile doesn't have the technology, and they don't have the money to make more than 65,000 DNA around the world. That's impossible. So we need to use what we have now. This is what we have now: DNA from MyHeritage DNA Bank, or else in the future. But yeah, they're trying to do things. And one of the main things that we have just this last year to do it, because this president is going, is that we want, and not only Nos Buscamos, okay, I'm going to be very, very emphatic in this. There are other organizations working with children who were born in Chile and adopted in other countries. And we all are trying to get the president and the state of Chile to recognize this as a human right violation, because they haven't recognized it. Yes, so for us, is if they don't recognize it, how are they going to make policies or solutions for these people? Because, for example, all the people who were trafficked away from Chile, they have two identities, not two nationalities. They have two names, two identities, two nationalities, two everything. So it's very tricky for them legally. We need to make a Chilean policy to fix this. And we need that our president, Gabriel Boric, recognize this as a human right violation.
Mm. Yeah. What will you do to achieve that? I mean, that's the beauty and one of the reasons why I'm always so inspired by talking to, people like yourself, social entrepreneurs in our network, because you make impossible things happen. So
Yeah.
what are you going to do to make this very hard ask happen?
We have been with him 3 times. We once where we were in Washington, and we are friends with the ambassador, so he led us in his home, and we met the president there with other adoptees, like the victims. Because I am adopted, I was trafficked, but I remain in Chile. The main thing here is that people who are adopted in other countries. So we are asking him for meetings, and we are very close to find out in June. The people are from the government is saying something is going to happen in June. So we're finger crossed. We already have another ask for another meeting with him. We have asked him like more than 20 meetings, but he's always busy, whatever. And now one of the many things, and Marie, is very important that we gather around through organizations. We are working with Anna Bourne, and I think she's on the panel, or she's listened to this. She's one of the Chilean who were adopted in Sweden, and she has this huge organization in Sweden, and she's part of us. And we are working with her because we need to gather around. We need to make more people working through the same goal to get the president, to get the state of Chile to recognize this as a human right violation. And she just sent a letter on last Friday. We are going to do the same this week. So the more, the better.
So basically, what you're saying is that you are working with people affected to make sure their voice is heard and that they become the advocates for this critical recognition of this past
We are
injustice.
empowering other people, other organizations. Anna came to Chile to live for 6 months, and I have been with her in all the meetings. And this is not about Nos Buscamos, it's about the victims of child trafficking, giving the voice to the mothers that are still alive, and giving the voice and the power to the young, like me, young people who are trying to make advocacy for this goal, to make it sure about this, to spread the word.
Thank you so much, Constanza, for all these amazing insights. A huge thank you to you and your team. Are there last words that you want to share with us? A last wish to the
Yes,
community?
of course. We need support, economical support. So of course, every organization need to continue working, and for that we need money, like plain and simple. I'm very happy to say that we are still working, and we have a couple of partnership with us, but we need more support. So if you want to help us as a volunteer or economically, or you have a opportunity for us, please connect us to www.nosbuscamos.org. And our email, we have a Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Everything's is posted every day. This is going to be posted on our TikTok too. So if you want to help, you can help. So help us.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much, Constanza. I think you're really showing how this past injustice can be, at least to some extent, be healed by people coming together and working on this together, and all of us putting our resources together. So I wish you all the very best.
Thank you very much.
There is a new welcome change coming up soon. It's on April 16 with our Ashoka founder, Bill Drayton, in conversation with David Bornstein. And I hope that all of you who are listening and watching today will join us again. And thank you so much, Constanza. Thank you
Thank you
for
so
all the
much,
important work you're
Ashoka.
doing.
You're doing a
It's
great
been
job.
it's been a pleasure. Thank you, Constanza.
See you.